I want you to raise your hand if you think that good work should speak for itself, or at least somewhere along the journey, you thought so. I don't know about you, but I did, especially when I had first started out professionally in my career, until I saw it firsthand that it doesn't work. Now, I come from a culture of hard skills, knowing more, and if you know more, then you have more value, and you need to show more. But nobody really talks about the packaging around that work and how you should communicate it and how you should present it, especially in 2026 when times have changed. At least in May 2026 that I'm recording this video, there has not been a time in our history that we had the smaller attention span. There's not been another time in our history where there was more information like we have now. Information these days is an abundance. Especially with AI, there's just more information going around in this world, and our attention span at the same time is getting smaller. So we've got more information and lower attention span. And if you think that good work should speak for itself, that's a recipe of failure. Because people you want to influence are being bombarded with information left and right. In their work, in their personal life, everywhere. There's just so much information everywhere. And in this world, you cannot expect people to come to the realization that your work has value. You have to package it in a way that they have no other choice but to think that. What we need is clarity with surgical precision. That is why in this video, I'm going to talk about first why we have this belief to begin with and what it's doing to us, as I firmly believe that understanding the problem is a big part of the solution, and once you know why you think that, then you can change it. And second, I want to go into some of the signs of people who are like this and what we can do about it, some of the quick fixes. And at this point, if you feel like that what I'm talking about right now is you and your situation, I want you to take the next step and click on the link in the description and take the full assessment to understand your pitfalls and what you can do about it when it comes to your visibility at work. Now let's get into it. Let's think about this sentence for a sec. Good work should speak for itself. What is good really? Is my definition of good the same as your definition of good? Who has defined good? Have we even decided on what does good look like for us? What is good to begin with? And that is the difference between truth and perception. You might have seen this picture here that I'm putting somewhere here. Who's right here? Is the person who's seeing a 6 or a person who's seeing a 9? Who knows? It seems like that both are right because one person sees a 6 and the other person sees a 9. So in this case, no matter what the truth is, with whether it's 6 or 9, the perception of the interpretation of the people who are seeing it, that's what matters. The truth is the fact and the objectivity behind it. Whereas perception is about our interpretation of that truth. So if you think about your work objectively, well, that is objective to you, but to whomever looks at it, there are 4, 5, 6, 7 different interpretations of that world. Because people perceive your work, not for what it actually is, but they see it with the filter of their own priorities, their own challenges, whatever it is that they are dealing with it. We are wired to understand our perceptions, our interpretations of the world, and the truths around it. And perception always trumps truth. I think you will even eat it for breakfast. And putting your work out there objectively on a stool for people to see and interpret on their own is like going to a museum. When you see an object, when you see an art in a museum, there are as many interpretations of that object, of that art, as the visitors who visit that piece. But it shouldn't be like that in our job. I want the narrative to be defined crystal clear by us so that other people do not interpret something on their own, but they can actually just perceive and get the perception that we want them to have by controlling the narrative we give to them. If you present your work objectively to 4 different people, there are 4 different interpretations of whatever good there might be in that project. But once you create and control your narrative, you control what good looks like, and then you can communicate that to your audience. So to reiterate here, once we think that good work should speak for itself, who has defined good? Have we even defined it? Is my definition of good the same as your definition of good? If something's good in my eyes, is it the same as in your eyes? Do you see what I see? I highly doubt it. So now our goal is to present and package our work in a way that matches the mental model of our audience. Instead of putting our work up for interpretation, we want to control the narrative, give them selective data supporting the message that we want to give them so that we can make our mark. Instead of sharing everything, we want to share a tiny selective amount. I want us to take a microsecond to think about this, to think about why we think like this, or at least some of us. Why do we even think that good work should speak for itself? This, the fact that we might believe that good work should speak for itself, is a belief. And what is a belief? A belief is our interpretation of the way we think the world works. I might believe it works this way, you might believe otherwise, another person might think another way. That's our interpretation of the way of working of the world. That is a belief. And if you think about the belief system, we've got belief, act, result. Whatever you believe, you act according to it, and based on however you behave and act, you see a result, and those results start reinforcing those behaviors again, and that's a full self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, it starts with that belief. Whatever you believe in life, you will act according to it, and you will see the subsequent results, and those results will reinforce that belief, good or bad. So if I think that good work should speak for itself, how do I act? I try to make my work better. I try to work more. I try to better my craft, more projects, more pages, more data. And the result? I still don't see the impact. I still don't see the visibility. I still do not feel the confidence. And what does that do to the belief? That my work is not good enough yet. Because if it was, it will speak for itself. I'm still not seeing the impact. Then that means that my work is not good enough. So I start, again, better my craft, not see results. Do this over. I've seen this so many times, where people hide behind the fact that their craft is not good, thinking that that's the reason why they're not seeing the recognition, the confidence, and the visibility they desire and honestly deserve. And at this point of the video, you might be wondering, why the heck are we addressing this belief on this foundational level? Well, if you've been around in my channel, and if you haven't, please like and subscribe whatever you see, because it will reach more people and you will know whatever I publish. But if you've been here, if you've seen if you watch some of my videos, you know that I'm very much against giving tips, tricks, strategy without the foundation. I believe that there are so many creators out there who are giving that. But my firm belief, or even maybe hot take, is that we don't need more information. We need the right information at the right time at the foundational level so that we can make a change that we desire. We don't need more information. We need a bit of more transformation in whatever we are doing in our personal development. So that's why I'm addressing this on this foundational level. So for whatever building that's going to go up, first they start digging the ground and make the foundation, and then you will know that you are putting the bricks and everything on a really nice foundation. That's why I'm talking about this on this foundational level, because if you know that, then you can make a change. So now that we understand this belief is quietly determining the way we act and the way we behave, and then consequently create the result for us, let's talk about some of the signs of such people. So if you feel like that's you, then you need to do something about it. Let's talk about 3 signs here. The first sign I want you to think about is if you feel like that you need to make or give or present more information. So if you think that the value of a project or the value of your work is that it has so many pages, so many things on it, this methodology, that methodology, this many people, this, that. If you think that more has value, or the more, the better, in this case, that might be a sign that you believe good work should speak for itself. I've seen it time and time. Well, this doesn't mean that we're not going to work hard and we're not going to work more and do more. It just means that we're not going to communicate and present everything at once to a certain audience. Think about it like an airdrop. Is it an airdrop? Like the thing where there are drops coming out of it? I don't know the word in English, but think about that. It's like for whatever audience you want to influence, or if you want to make a mark on, then you need to maybe just have 2 drops for this person, 5 drops for that person, and 2 completely different drops for the other person. You see what I mean there? The drops are the data or the information you want to share. So don't misunderstand this point with the fact that we don't want to work more. No, we're just going to work still very hard because we want to get ahead. But the difference is that we don't want to ship all the information out there at once. We want to be selective with whatever we choose to the people. And remember, this usually stems from the fact that we do not have an idea of the perception of our audience. That is why we throw everything at them, hoping that they will catch whatever they need. But once you understand their perception, what they need to hear in order to be influenced, then you will become picky with whatever you give them. So that was the first sign. Let's talk about the second one. The second one is about being over-focused on execution. If you think about our entire energy like a bucket, most of us spend 90% of that bucket to do the work and maybe 5 to 10% of that energy to talk about it, to present it, to communicate it, and to ship that work outwards. Being overly focused on execution, so more inward working instead of outward, that's also a sign that you might believe good work should speak for itself, because you want to work harder, you want to work more, you want to be more focused on execution, because that's what you believe will get you ahead. Working more will give me what I want. Well, that's not the case in reality, unfortunately. The third sign is that people feel bad if they want to talk about an accomplishment, a project, something they have done. I have to say this is more prominent in women, including myself. I've been definitely a victim of this. I remember vividly moments in my life, projects, opportunities where I was deliberately waiting for somebody to notice my work. I remember this specifically. Well, in my case, in one of the biggest opportunities I can remember, well, that person actually did notice it, because later I learned that that person was also believing the fact that good work should speak for itself somewhere down the line in their career. So he understood that some people are like this, so he was very conscious of giving everybody the attention. But that was a very fortunate case. Usually it's not like that. Again, we don't have the attention span for that. We cannot wait around for other people to notice us. We have to create our narrative, and we have to be there with the perception that we want other people to take from us, not really make ourselves open for interpretation. And again, a lot of us women, we think that we might feel arrogant, we might feel salesy if we talk about our work. That's not really the rules of the game. And remember, if you want to have that full-on assessment of your visibility and what you need to do about it based on the score you get and the profile you are assigned to, feel free to click on the link in the description in order to get some tangible next steps for yourself. Okay, now let's talk about what we can do now. So far we've talked about this belief and what it might do for us. We've looked at some of the signs, and now we want to talk about what we can do now in order to get out of that mindset. The first thing I want you to think about, and the first thing I want you to do, is to stop presenting information for what it actually is. I want you to stop presenting truth and start presenting the perception you want other people to see from you and for your work. So no more presenting information just for the sake of information, but now presenting transformation and relevance to the audience so that it matches their mental model and perception. So for that to happen, we don't want to go through every detail. In every presentation, we want to talk about what matters, why it matters, and what needs to happen by whom, by when, period. Good presentation provides value ASAP. Once you know the perception of the people who you want to influence, so if you have this many information out there, if you've done this many things at your job or at your work or at that project, then maybe for influencing this person, you need a selective amount of here. Maybe for that person, you need a selective amount here. So it's all about not presenting everything you've done, everything you know, but it's about supporting evidence to the story and the narrative you want them to have. The second thing I want you to do is to start with your conclusion and then bring on the necessary data. So if you start with the data, your audience do not know how to think and how to listen to whatever you are presenting to them. It will make them uneasy, it will make them uncertain, and they might even feel overwhelmed because they don't know where you are going with this data. So imagine if you're presenting a project update. Things might have gone good, things might have gone bad, and things might have stayed the same. If you're presenting the data that might lead to that conclusion, then people do not really know how to listen and how to think about it. But if you first say things are gray, things are green, things are, yellow, things are red, then people know what mindset and what hat to wear in order to listen to whatever you are telling them. So if you first start by saying that things are bad, people start hearing whatever you are telling them. People start hearing about everything that you're telling them with a problem-solving mindset, hopefully. Okay, things are bad, now what we can do about it. If you tell them that things are the same and everything's on track, they might feel calm and have that peace of mind, and they will listen to whatever you're telling them and maybe have some solutions to make things even better. And if you start by saying that things are good or even great, then people have that relaxed mindset and curious instead of being anxious and not knowing where you're going with all of this. Tell them the reason and tell them the hat they need to wear with whatever data you're telling them. And third, I want you to think about every presentation as a visibility opportunity. Especially if you're just starting out, if you're early to mid-career, working in tech, no one expects you to be strategic. So if you are strategic, you approach every presentation like a visibility challenge, and you bring that strategic way of thinking, and then that will be your differentiator. So not just information, but how does that relate to the bigger strategic initiatives of the organization that I work at? I remember we want to use presentations to shape how people perceive our competence and influence, period. Well, if you have watched this part of the video, it means that it has resonated with you on some level. So I want you to take the next step and click on the link in the description to get that full-on assessment and next steps for you in order to get out of that mindset. And if you want to learn about how to give a presentation, how to structure a presentation that lands with your audience on the first try, make sure to watch this video where I will talk about that in a great detail. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.